You know that moment when you're running on fumes, and after a couple of miles of looking for where to refuel, you finally roll into a gas station? Yeah, we've all been there. A good little moment of relief. But here's the thing. What you do in the next 60 seconds. That window, no matter how long, between parking and pumping, well, it could literally be killing your Hyundai. I'm Dean, and after 15 years with grease trapped under my fingernails and busted knuckles, I'm here to tell you that nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, brings folks into my shop with that confused expression quite like the things they do at the fuel pump. You'd think filling a hole with liquid would be straightforward. You'd be wrong. There's a whole science to it. There's also a whole list of ways to mess it up so badly that your Hyundai starts throwing around error codes. And yes, they're absolutely wrecking your Elantras, Tucsons, Palisades, and Konas without you even knowing it. Some of these things are quite basic, others are not. So, here are 8 refueling mistakes that could be destroying your Hyundai as we speak. Some of these are basic, others, not so much. Let's get into it. I'm gonna start with a big one. The mistake I see more than any other. The one that makes me want to run across the forecourt and stop you physically. Mistake number 1. Starting your engine before you've even finished refueling. I had a kid bring his Veloster N into the shop last month. Young guy, not even in his 30s yet, and he already had that one car he'd love for the rest of his life. We all have that one ride, don't we? Well, he loved that car more than life itself. Always brought it in for checkups, waxed it every Sunday, but he kept getting this random hesitation when accelerating, like the car was holding back. The check engine light stayed off, so what was up here? We ran diagnostics for like 2 hours. Nothing. Compression good, spark plugs fresh, fuel pressure, bingo. Fuel pressure was bouncing around. Long story short, his purge control valve was absolutely cooked. Turns out, this kid had a habit. He'd pull into the station, shut the car off, good, fill up, great, then screw the cap on, get back in, and start the engine before the nozzle was even back in the pump. Like, don't you get it? He'd start the car under a second after refueling. And here's the thing. He'd been doing this since he got the car 2 years earlier. Yeah, on the surface, it looks like nothing. But there's a big problem here. You see, when you start that engine with the fuel system still pressurized from the pump, with the evap system still catching its breath, you're literally sending a pressure wave through the whole system. The purge valve takes the brunt of it, and those little plastic valves, they hate that. They hate it a lot, and soon you'll get to know just how much they hate it. So, here's the rule. Engine off before you even touch the pump. The engine stays off until the nozzle is back in the holster, your cap is on, and you're sitting back in the driver's seat. Not 1 second before. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if you're late. That extra 3 seconds saves you a $400 valve replacement. Give your Hyundai some time to get itself, and yes, this goes for every single Hyundai model, as long as it needs gas. Next up is a mistake pretty much caused by selfishness. Mistake number 2. Cramming in just a little more, even after a full tank. You know who you are. You're standing there, and even after the pump stops and your car's tank is full, you still squeeze that trigger again, and again, and again. Like, what are you even trying to do? To get every last molecule of fuel into that tank? Sounds smart, but trust me, it's not. Stop it. Just stop. I'm gonna explain this simply because I need you to understand what's happening in there. Your Hyundai's fuel system isn't just an empty tank waiting to be filled. It's a sealed system with something called an evaporative canister. This little charcoal-filled box catches fuel vapors so they don't vent into the atmosphere and kill us all slowly. It's actually pretty clever. When you overfill, and I mean really force that last half gallon in there, it's no longer going into your car's tank. There's obviously no room. The tank is full. So where's it going? It goes into the vapor lines, it goes into the charcoal canister, it floods it. And charcoal soaked in gasoline? It doesn't work anymore. It just sits there, clogged and useless. Then what happens? Your check engine light comes on. Your car starts smelling like gas when you park it in the garage. You fail emissions testing, and you're looking at a $600 to $800 repair bill because you wanted to squeeze in that extra $1.50 worth of fuel. I had a lady with a Tucson bring it in, saying her garage smelled like a refinery. I pulled the canister and fuel literally poured out of it, like dripping gasoline. She'd been topping off for years because her husband told her it prevented condensation. It doesn't. It just ruins your car. When the pump clicks, you stop. Full stop. That's it. Your tank is full. Congratulations. There's this one mistake I always warn people against making the very first day folks bring their Hyundais into my shop, because it will ruin your engine faster than anything else will. I'm talking about mistake number 3, using the wrong octane. I once had a guy bring his Sonata in last year. Beautiful car, base model, 2.5-liter engine, runs perfectly fine on regular 87. But this guy was convinced, like absolutely convinced, that premium fuel would make it faster, cleaner, more efficient. He'd been running 93 octane for 6 months. Don't forget, this is a brand new Sonata, but in just 6 months, he's bringing it in because his fuel economy had dropped. It had really dropped. He was getting worse mileage with premium than he got with regular, and he was paying more for it. Here's the thing about octane, and I need you to really get this. Octane isn't a measure of how powerful or clean the fuel is. It's a measure of how resistant it is to pre-ignition. That's it. That's literally all of it. Hyundai engines with high compression ratios, like your Veloster N, your Genesis G70, your Sonata N-Line, need higher octane because they're squeezing that air-fuel mixture so tight it might explode too early. The higher octane stops that. Now, your base model Elantra, your everyday Tucson, your Santa Fe with the 3.8, they're not squeezing hard enough to need it. Putting premium in them is like buying racing fuel for your lawnmower. It's a waste of money. And in some cases, like my customer with the Sonata, it can actually hurt your economy because the engine's timing doesn't advance the way it would with premium in a car designed for it. Don't believe me? Just read your owner's manual. Use what it says. If it says 87, use 87. If it says 91, use 91. Don't guess, don't assume, don't listen to me, and definitely don't listen to that coworker who knows cars. Mistake number 4, filling up with the engine running. I know. I covered engine off in mistake 1, but I only talked about it in passing. This is a major issue that definitely deserves its spot, because somehow, in 2026, I still see countless people doing this. Like, genuinely. I see them pull up to the pump, leave the engine running, and start filling. I watched a woman do this in a brand new Palisade just last week. Just sitting there, AC blasting, engine purring, gasoline fumes everywhere. I never understand why people never turn that engine off. You want to know what a hot exhaust system does to gasoline vapors? Nothing good. You want to know what a stray electrical spark from a running engine does to gasoline vapors? Nothing good. You want to know what happens if that vapors find their way into your cabin air intake while you're sitting there enjoying your air conditioning? You get lightheaded, you get sick, or maybe even worse. And if that doesn't scare you enough, here's a mechanical angle for you. Your fuel pump is working overtime when the engine's running. It's maintaining pressure, circulating fuel, doing its job. When you open that fuel cap with the engine on, you're disrupting that carefully balanced system. The EVAP system goes into panic mode. Sensors get confused, the computer throws codes, and sometimes those codes don't go away on their own, but this definitely pales in comparison to how dangerous it is. Your Hyundai could go up in flames, and what happens if you're inside when that happens? So, just kill the engine. Yeah, every single time. I don't care if it's 110 degrees in Arizona. Turn it off. Next up is a mistake you've definitely heard a million times, but you still do it. Everyone does. That's how common it is. Mistake number 5, using your phone while the pump's running. All right, I'm about to sound like your dad here, but I've got all the science facts to actually back this up. Maybe you'll listen to science. Please do. Now here's the thing about gasoline and modern electronics. Put simply, they don't mix. Obviously, you know this. But what you might not know is that the static discharge from that phone, especially if it falls and you're fumbling to catch it, sliding your feet, generating static. This can ignite the vapors hovering right around the pump. In fact, a damaged phone or battery could cause a spark in a high-concentration vapor area. Fortunately enough, I have no stories to tell you about this, but theoretically, I know it can happen. I do countless stories about people being too distracted and causing a fuel spill, which, believe it or not, can also be quite dangerous. We tend to underestimate just how distracting those little rectangular boxes can be. I've seen people drive away with the nozzle still in the car because they were on a call. I've seen people overfill by 3 gallons because they were watching a video. I've seen a guy in a Kona try to vape and pump gas at the same time, which, by the way, is an entirely different level of stupid because he was too busy recording himself for TikTok. So yeah, your dad was right. Stick to the rule. Phone goes in your pocket, or your cup holder, or your glove box, anywhere but your hand. Pumping gas takes 3 minutes. Whatever's on that screen can wait. If it can't wait, you shouldn't be driving anyway. Mistake number 6. Cramming the nozzle in upside down or sideways. This one sounds ridiculous until you watch someone do it. And I've watched a ton of people do it. I once saw this older gentleman, nice Genesis G80, pulls up to the pump, grabs the nozzle, and just jams it in there at a 45-degree angle, like he's trying to break something. The nozzle's not seating properly, it's not clicking, fuel's splashing back, and he's just forcing it harder. I had to turn my car off, walk over to his ride, and help him get it fit, right? Good thing he watched carefully for the next time he'd need a refuel. You know what happens when you force something that doesn't fit? It breaks. In this case, the flapper mechanism inside your fuel filler neck. That little spring-loaded door that's supposed to seal the system when the cap's off? It's all plastic, delicate plastic too. And when you jam a rigid metal nozzle into it at the wrong angle, it snaps. Then what? Now your fuel system isn't sealed. Now your check engine light is on. Now you've got an EVAP system leak that requires dropping the fuel tank to fix. We're talking hours of labor, and obviously a repair bill that would ruin your week. And all for what? Because you couldn't line up the nozzle properly. The nozzle goes in straight. It seats fully. You'll hear a click when it's properly engaged. If it doesn't feel right, pull it out and try again. Don't go forcing it. The next mistake is yet another one you've probably heard a million times, but as usual, you still make it. Mistake number 7, not fixing in the fuel cap properly. This one's boring. I know it's boring, but stick with me because boring can get real expensive quick. I had a guy roll into the shop with a 2021 Elantra. Check engine lights on, car's running rough. He's convinced it's something major. We run the diagnostics and what do we find? EVAP system leak, massive one. Like the computer's screaming at us that there's a hole in the system somewhere. So we start tracing. Lines are fine, canisters fine, purge valves fine. Then I get to the fuel cap, or where the fuel cap should be. And imagine my shock when I look and there's literally no fuel cap there. How long has it been since your last refuel, sir? He said a week. This guy's been driving around for a week with no fuel cap. Just an open hole where a cap used to live. He'd forgotten to put it back on after his last fill up and drove off. Yeah, he forgot to put the cap in altogether, but even not sealing the cap properly could have similar repercussions. Now, you might think, it's just a cap. What's the big deal? The big deal is that your entire fuel system is designed to be sealed. Sealed means pressure. Sealed means vapors get captured and burned instead of vented into the atmosphere. Sealed means the computer knows exactly what's happening in there. When you've got no cap, or a cap that's cracked or cross-threaded or just not clicking properly, you're letting air into the system. Unmetered air. Air the computer isn't accounting for. That messes with your fuel trims, your oxygen sensors, your whole emissions strategy. The check engine light comes on because the computer detects that the system can't hold pressure. And once that light's on, you're failing emissions tests and wondering why your mileage dropped. But it gets worse. Without a proper seal, dirt and moisture get in there. Moisture in your fuel tank is bad. Water and gasoline don't mix, and water in your injectors means misfires, rough idle, and eventually, corrosion. Dirt in your tank means clogged fuel filters and premature pump failure. I've dropped tanks on cars where the inside looked like someone had been dumping sand in there. All because a cap has been loose for months. So I've got a rule for you. Every time you fill up, you listen for the clicks. 3 of them, minimum. And if your cap is looking cracked, dried out, or the tether's broken, replace it. They're like $20. A new cap costs less than lunch. A new EVAP system probably costs more than your rent. And to finish it out, mistake number 8, refueling right after driving like a maniac. This one's for my N-line owners, my Veloster N guys, my Genesis Performance crowd, anyone who actually drives their Hyundai the way it was meant to be driven. You just spent 20 minutes carving up back roads. Your brakes are hot, your tires are hot, your engine is hot, your fuel pump has been working overtime. Everything under that hood is at operating temperature, or even beyond it. And you pull into a gas station and immediately start filling up. Why? Here's the problem with doing that. Fuel expands when it's hot. And your fuel tank right now is full of hot fuel from all that aggressive driving. Hot fuel takes up more space, so when you fill it to the top with cool station fuel, then park it, then let it cool down overnight, that fuel contracts. And now your tank, which you fill to the brim, suddenly has empty space. And that empty space, it fills with vapors. And those vapors, they get pulled into your evap system, condense back into liquid, and flood your charcoal canister. Remember those? I talked about charcoal canisters earlier and how they're definitely not meant to be clogged. I remember I also mentioned that they cost $600 to $800. Yeah, I mentioned that. Also, there's the safety angle. Hot exhaust components plus gasoline vapors could equal a very bad day. Give your car 5 minutes to cool down before you fill it. Let that heat soak, dissipate. Your fuel system will thank you, and you won't be that guy standing next to a potential explosion because you couldn't wait 5 minutes to fill up. You know what? I'm going to level with you. Gas stations are boring. Filling up could be the most boring 3 minutes of your day. I get it. Nobody wakes up excited to stand in the cold holding a nozzle while numbers tick by on a screen. But the difference between doing it right and doing it wrong is the difference between a car that runs for 200,000 miles and a car that starts giving you problems at 60,000. The good news? None of this is hard. At least not hard enough to give you sleepless nights. 8 simple things that could save you thousands and maybe even save your life one day. See you next time. I'll be under a Hyundai, probably replacing something that shouldn't have broken, but that's a story for another day.